My gold stars are a metaphor for me being a star.
Whether you love her or hate her, you know that Rachel Berry is one of the most unforgettable TV characters in the past decade. She was basically the center of the musical TV show Glee and has had one of the biggest impacts on that series. With that being said, Rachel Berry was an extremely polarizing character, with most Gleeks either hating her character and thinking she was so annoying, or some, though very few, acknowledging her flaws and loving her determination and strong personality. In this video, we are going to do an analysis of Rachel Berry's character and see whether Rachel Berry really deserves all the hate she gets. We'll break down her character by looking at her personality, how others perceive her role in the story, her character growth, and her motivations. This is a quick disclaimer I'm going to do before I start. A few weeks ago, a lot of controversy around Leah Michele came to light, and I just want to be very clear that this video is solely about Rachel Berry and not about Leah Michele. I am focusing only on the fictional character, and nothing I have to say will have anything to do with Leah Michele. With a TV show like Glee, it is imperative you separate art from life, and if you can't do that, then this video is not for you.
I'm not really a nice person. I'm selfish.
Rachel Berry's personality is quite a handful. She is strong, competitive, neurotic, socially awkward, egotistical, ambitious, hardworking, and most importantly, empathetic and forgiving. One could say that she is literally two sides of the same battery. When we first meet Rachel Berry, we can already tell that she is willing to take charge in any situation that she can. This already sets her apart from her fellow Glee Club members who already see her as too much to handle. From the first Glee Club meeting, Rachel approaches her peers with a competitive aura, and this puts a lasting divide between her and them. During the pilot, we are made aware that Rachel Berry is an only child who was smothered by her two dads and put in numerous competitions since a young age to give her a competitive edge. When looking at Rachel Berry's personality, you can tell that it was largely formed by the upbringing that she had at home. Rachel is spoiled and is encouraged by her fathers, which likely contributed to her inflated ego. Rachel also possesses numerous qualities generally found in only childs that encompass being sensitive, having a hard time sharing, being overachievers, and some more positive ones such as being really good at thinking outside the box and being highly success-oriented. When looking at Rachel Berry's personality and characteristics, you'll notice that she has just as many good qualities as bad ones, and depending on your outlook of life, that might determine how you feel about her character throughout the show.
Okay, so they have more experience, they have more talent, but you are fierce, Rachel. Your ambition does push-ups while you sleep. Nobody wants more than you.
Rachel was sort of an anti-hero. Most of her characteristics were very unlikable, and it took Rachel a long time to improve her attitude, only to go back to her old ways in season 5, but that quickly changed again by season 6. In my opinion, Rachel, like many characters on Glee, is actually a character that is meant to challenge the viewers. Most of the characters did a lot of crazy and mean things, and the lessons we were supposed to take away from them were from their growth. Rachel's character had a lot of growth on the show. She received perhaps the biggest humbling on the show after season 5 when she realized that nothing was owed to her and that she took too much for granted. Rachel's role in the story is the embodiment of ambition. Her journey through the story showed the good and the bad that came from it. In season 5, after getting the role of Fanny Bryce in Funny Girl, Rachel's first mistake was quitting Nyada and thinking that she was above it. Later, after getting the part she basically yapped about on every episode, she quits the show to become a TV actress. Of course, there was going to be a lesson to take away from this, because after this, everything in Rachel's life comes crashing down and she has to come back to her roots and remember everything she stands for. She does this by coming to the place that changed her for the better, which is McKinley High, specifically the Glee Club. Obviously, in the end, Rachel makes it, and we see that she got there through trials and tribulation while learning from her mistakes, as we all do. At the end of the day, even if you don't like Rachel, which is a pretty popular opinion, she was arguably one of the most defiant characters. And you just couldn't be indifferent to her character anyway because she was constantly shoved in our faces.
Everybody knew about this but me?
Pretty much. Nobody tells you anything because A, you're a blabbermouth, and B, we all just pretend to like you.
This is often overlooked, but Rachel was a victim of bullying by her peers. Oftentimes, she was slushied by the popular kids such as Puck. She would get called names by Quinn and Santana and would also cyberbully her and would generally be made fun of for her looks by a number of characters on the show. In some cases, the kids being bullied might even have friends and are just being bullied by the popular kids. But in Rachel's case, no one likes her, not even the so-called school losers. When you see the way she approaches people or pay close attention to her speech cadence, you'll notice that Rachel is actually very socially awkward and actually doesn't have a lot of good interactions with kids her age. Some could argue that Rachel is annoying and that's why the kids in the Glee Club don't like her, but the fact of the matter is one of her first interactions that we see with anyone on the show, she gets slushied by Puck, and we later find out that he doesn't even know her name yet. In season 2, when Rachel finds out that Finn lied to her about losing his virginity to Santana, she obviously throws a fit, but the most revealing part came when she found out that everyone in the Glee Club knew except for her. This was the perfect demonstration of Rachel's dynamic with the rest of the Glee Club. The truth is, on multiple occasions, the other Glee Club members admit to only tolerating Rachel for her talent, and Rachel knows this and tries to push this narrative as hard as she can.
Okay, you guys, I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to start rehearsing for next year's sectionals immediately.
Guys, you've all worked really hard this year and you deserve a break.
Our first glimpse of Rachel Berry is in season 1, and she is a lot. She is at the height of being extra. She's selfish, egotistical, insecure, annoying, and just hard to stand, even for those who are rooting for her. Season 2, Rachel was off to a terrible start and did, in my opinion, the worst thing she did throughout the entire show, which was putting Sunshine in danger just because of her fears and insecurities. The only positive part that came from this situation was that she could only go up from there. She ended up going through a lot in that season, with her and Finn finally seeming to find a stable place and then finding out that he lied to her about Santana. This led to their breakup, and for the first time in the show, we see a real change in Rachel when she finally decides to move on and tries to build friendships with her fellow Glee Clubbers. This is when we start seeing her trio with Kurt and Mercedes, signaling that she's finally starting to win over her peers. One of the most touching moments in the season was Rachel's speech after winning the club's MVP award, because she reveals how much more meaningful this award was to her compared to all the other ones she received in the past. Apart from a few short moments in season 3, season 1 Rachel was really almost nowhere to be found. It makes sense because at this point she was starting to focus more on college and her relationship with Finn. At this point, we can finally see Rachel being a part of the club and is no longer the annoying outsider. Rachel, after high school, seemed to be a fully changed woman, wanting to leave her past behind, but this all changed in season 5 when Santana auditions to be her understudy in Funny Girl, and all hell breaks loose when insecure and dramatic Rachel comes back. As the season progresses, Rachel starts going back into the cycle of being over the top and full of herself, and sometimes being a lovely and attentive friend. Everything falls apart in season 6 when she finally reaches the point of having to learn to be a real adult, and thankfully there are no longer any tantrums. She starts learning how to handle her pain in a healthy way and getting back on her feet, which is something she needed to learn about, because yes, we know Rachel is a hard worker, but she's also very lucky. And this was proved by her getting the lead on Broadway only 6 months after graduating, which obviously resulted in her taking it for granted and eventually losing it all.
Look, I know I'm just a sophomore, but I can feel the clock ticking away, and I don't want to leave high school with nothing to show for it.
You get great grades. You're a fantastic singer.
Everybody hates me.
You think Glee Club is going to change that?
Being great at something is going to change it. Being a part of something special makes you special, right?
Looking at Rachel Berry's motivations for the things that she does is the most interesting part, because it's the best way to understand why she is the way she is. The first thing we get to know about Rachel Berry is that she wants to be a star and that she will stop at nothing to become one. When she first joins Mrs. Schuster's Glee Club, she finally has a chance to become a star, and she will stop at nothing to prove to the other members that she is the most important member. To understand why Rachel craves so much praise, apart from being conditioned by her father to become that way, we need to look at the way Rachel is treated by the other students way before the Glee Club starts. Rachel is lonely and no one likes her. People think her entire persona is an object to make fun of, and her belief in her stardom and her potential is what people like Quinn, Santana, and Puck used to bully her with. And this is even without actually knowing her yet. Rachel joins a lot of clubs but doesn't get friends. The Glee Club is the first time she has something in common with others, and it is her first chance to make friends, but the way she goes about it at first pushes everyone away. When Mr. Shu asks Rachel why she even wanted to be in the Glee Club, she states that everyone hates her and that being popular and good at something will make people like her. This is when we first hear the line, being a part of something special makes you special, right? The more you see how she interacts with her peers later on and how she speaks in truly vulnerable moments, you realize that Rachel wants to have friends, and you catch on to the fact that the thing Rachel is missing the most in her life is friendship and acceptance. Rachel holds her voice and talents dear to her heart as if it is the only friend she's ever had, and in a way it is. From a young age, Rachel won dance competitions and singing competitions, and this was the only time where she was somewhat at the top. Rachel fills the void of loneliness that she has by overcompensating her dependence on her voice. Since initially no one likes Rachel, whenever Mr. Shu wants to give someone else a chance, Rachel is on alert mode because she knows that the only reason she's tolerated by other members is because they think that they need her. Rachel doesn't want anyone to think that she's replaceable because that is the only way she believes she will get acceptance. This led her to her extreme reactions when she sent Sunshine to a crack house and quit the Glee Club when Tina got a weekly solo. Very quickly after, she always has remorse for the way that she acts and always tries to rectify it. If being at the top was truly all that she cared about, Rachel would never apologize for the way she is or even try to change. A lot of people see Rachel Berry's attitude as being confident, but Rachel is not confident. In fact, she is so insecure that it leads her to do the most terrible and stupid things. For example, when it comes out that Finn had slept with Santana, she tries to get back at him by cheating on him with Puck. It is evident here that her insecurities led her to make such a bad decision, but it's not out of nowhere. In season 1, right after getting together with Finn, he dumps her to go out with Santana and Brittany, for no reason except for the fact that they were hotter. It makes so much sense that after being treated like crap by Finn first, then tricked by Jesse, her first instincts were to try to fire back. Even in season 5, when she throws a tantrum about Santana's audition, as annoying as it was, and trust me, I hated it, it made sense because Rachel was treated like crap for such a long time by these people, and her moving on, being strong, and finally getting the part as Fanny Bryce felt like a reward for all that she put up with, and then her former bully ends up getting the same role as her without even trying as hard. I mean, it makes sense. My favorite quality about her is how big her heart is and how truly forgiving she is. Apart from Kurt, Rachel is the character who got the most crap thrown to her face and then went out to forgive all the people who gave her crap and even became friends with them. Rachel always reaches out to those she thinks are in pain, and even when she knows that she might get slapped in the face. We see this, for example, initially when she tells Mercedes about Kurt not being able to reciprocate her feelings to shield her, and even when everyone is ganging up on Santana and accusing her of being a mole in the Glee Club, Rachel is the only one who believes her and tells her this. Even when Kurt never hid his feelings towards Rachel, she was the first one to notice he was not doing okay when he was being bullied and tried to do something about it. To understand how forgiving and understanding she is, think about the fact that she married the guy who betrayed and humiliated her. Like any character, of course she's not perfect. She's a kid, she's a teenager. But what I realized about her is that Rachel Berry means well most of the time and just doesn't know how to go about things, falls back into her bad habits because, yeah, old habits die hard. You can hate her and think she's annoying, entitled, and spoiled, but I believe that Rachel is also one of the strongest characters on the show and that she's truly admirable for that. Some of her counterparts had terrible meltdowns from the little backlash they received, but Rachel Berry is strong because she always kept going even if it meant her against the world. Rachel genuinely means well, and one thing you can say about Rachel is that she has a good heart. I honestly used to hate Rachel when Glee would air on TV, but having grown up and faced the world, I realized how much strength it takes to face the world alone and be the bigger person. Rachel is a character that deserves a lot less hate, or at least some more compassion, because she went through a lot of growth and tried to be a better person in the end. And the fact that she cared to try shows that the majority of the things that people say about her just aren't true. So to answer the question, do I think Rachel Berry deserves as much hate as she gets? Definitely not. It's okay to hate a character. It's okay for her not to be your favorite character. That's totally understandable. But I just noticed that now, especially after everything that happened with Lea Michele, people are associating the two characters. And from what I watched on the show and from what I heard about Lea Michele, first of all, they're two different people. And two, if you pay very close attention, you realize that she's not a bad person. There are some really mean characters on that show that we all love and defend their actions, but for some reason, no one gives Rachel a break. So I don't think she deserves the hate. Now, she doesn't have to be anyone's favorite character. That totally makes sense. She's not my favorite character for sure, but I do think that the hate for Rachel has just gotten so much worse, and I think she doesn't deserve all that hate as a character. But obviously, this is truly just my opinion. Obviously, everyone's entitled to theirs. Glee is a great show and brings a lot of emotions out of us. So, it's just a personal choice. And this is just how I see it. Okay guys, that's it for my take on Rachel Berry. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks and see you next time.